Here we are with Overwatch This. I'm Jeff from the Overwatch team.
Hello everyone, welcome to another episode of Overwatch This. We're on episode 41.
We're old enough to
do all the stuff that
about
adults,
our 30s.
Yes, yeah. We're on our way to death, basically. But talking of death and toxicity, that is going to be the topic of the week. I'm going to be talking about the toxicity of Overwatch. But first, let's have a catch up with what's been going on in Overwatch this week.
Not a lot.
That seems to be the case, right?
There's a lot of stuff happening next week, basically. Doomfist is coming out literally tomorrow as we're recording this, just kind of a quirk of recording on Wednesday. There's also like a Zarya comic that's kind of been confirmed as happening fairly soon because Michael Chu kind of mentioned it on the forums. Some Roadhog changes were mentioned yesterday as well. Those will hit the PTR the next time the PTR comes up, which will presumably either be Friday or early next week. But basically, all of that is news and you can read about it on the website if you want to, but this stuff is stuff that happened last night and that we actually know stuff about, whereas all of that stuff we'll know more about next week, when it hits the PTR, once Doomfist is live, once the comic actually comes out, etc, etc. So yeah, we wanted to do, yesterday they basically announced they're actually making some changes to the way that punishment works with an Overwatch, and so we decided that was a good thing to start with.
Right, so new punishment procedures are going to be put into place. Explain to me if I've got a problem with someone, or if I am the problem. I mean, obviously you can tell that I'm a bad boy at heart.
Matt, the number of silences on Matt's account is just sky high. So yeah, basically there's going to be harsher punishments for if you're talking smack, if you're spamming in game, or if you're AFK, or if you're deliberately feeding or dying. So basically the three things that you can do that are bad: spamming up the chat, that's less bad. Being racist, sexist, calling people names, that sort of thing, and then also deliberately playing poorly. They're also in the post where they announced that they were going to start putting harsher measures onto these, although they didn't give any direct specifics. They really encourage the idea of reporting people when you see that they're doing stuff that you don't like, and said again, look, the people who are not behaving in a way that we approve of are going to be silenced, suspended, or even banned. The implication of the post was really that they're going to be enforcing these a lot more thoroughly, and that if you report somebody and if they were breaking the rules, they will get a punishment. It's not, they might if we see it, if we detect a certain amount of past of doing it. They also said that they're going to put in place a number of different changes over the next, a few months, over the next year. There'll be more scaling bans and competitive. So if you're deliberately a bastard and competitive several times, you'll get it won't just be, you're banned until the end of the season. That'll be banned, you're banned for this season, you're banned for next season, maybe you're banned for the following season as well. They also said that they make sure that there were penalties for if people try to abuse the in-game report system. So, Matt here, he's trying to play on meta and somebody picks Hanzo and he's like, I'm reporting you for picking Hanzo. There'll be a punishment for Matt for doing that. So stop doing that, Matt. God. And finally, basically they mentioned the reporting for console again. We are a PC-focused show, but the reporting on console is something that they've been trying to get in for really, really long time. They said they're still working on it. They said when it comes in, they want to make sure it has all of the same features that the PC version has by then. So if they improve the PC version over the next couple of months and they don't manage to get the console version out until November, December or something, then when it launches, it will have all the same stuff that the PC thing has when it starts. Interesting side note on that. People get rightfully pretty annoyed that there isn't a reporting system on console. I think maybe people don't realise quite how impossible it is to get Microsoft and Sony to agree on something, and to talk to each other, and to use the same system and let you punish people that are paying for their service for misbehaving in your game. It's really, really complicated. It isn't a system that they have complete control over. But I also think that it is kind of ridiculous how long we've had to wait for that. I just don't think all of the onus is on Blizzard. I think a lot of it comes down to Sony and Microsoft. So the big question about all of that, that's what they're doing, is kind of whether it's going to work.
Yeah, sure.
And I think the important thing to kick off with there is exactly how toxic Overwatch actually is.
So yeah, let's discuss then, in terms of our experience and in terms of kind of what the broader kind of consensus is, just how toxic a game is Overwatch.
I would say it's gotten a lot worse. Now, I was lucky enough to play back in the kind of earliest betas when it was, a pretty small percentage of people that are playing it now. Probably less than 1% of the number of people playing now were playing in the beta. and also, it was kind of an opt-in thing. You knew you were lucky to be in it. You didn't want to lose that spot from being a dickhead. So I think it has gotten a lot worse. I would say, like most games I play, particularly in quick match, or if I'm in like a higher level competitive game, there is somebody just talking smack or being a dick about how somebody's picked. I mean, like how have you found it?
I mean,
you play a few more games.
Yeah, I generally find that competitive tends to be where it is. Where I guess it's because people have got higher stakes, right, in competitive, so they feel kind of like they're more justified, maybe, is in their mind to be annoyed at people that aren't doing what they think is the prevalent tactic. But yeah, obviously it spreads between all sorts of modes because you've got people that don't have any chill, right?
Yeah, and I think in Overwatch there's less throwing than I've seen in other games. Like less people just going AFK, but more people just like, oh, you're terrible, and throwing out racist slurs and that sort of thing. I don't know why that is. I think it's because like feeding isn't a thing like it is in MOBAs. Like you can't directly help the enemy team if you want to, so people don't do that quite as much. The reasons for this are, I think, twofold. First, like 30 million players. The game has definitely dropped in popularity from maybe 6 months ago, but there is still just a ginormous player base. You never really have to wait to get into a game. If you pretty much no matter what level of competitive you're playing at, you never have to wait either. So there is a lot of people playing, and that does just bring out the worst in people because. Like, say someone like me who doesn't, I don't like to talk crap in chat, and honestly, if they just removed chat, I'd probably be happy. I don't bother talking because I don't want to interact with people that are, being mean and so on. The only people who do want to interact with them are people that are also toxic. So it looks like everybody's super toxic, even though it's actually a fairly small, very loud minority. Similarly, it's a skill-based game that also has matchups and a meta. So what I mean there is like, say, you're playing Widowmaker, and Widowmaker should beat, I don't know, Tracer, if the Widowmaker can aim well enough and the Tracer is in the right spot. But if you're not particularly great at aiming, you're going to lose that. But people are still like, why didn't you kill her? Yeah. Because people just assume that X beats Y, even though like FPS aiming is a huge part of the game, right?
Yeah, I mean, for example, so like, especially in my earliest days of competitive, when I was still trying to figure out what characters I blended well with.
Yeah, when you still like trying out different.
Yeah, I used to play Pharah quite a lot, and I thought I was good at Pharah, and it was deemed that I wasn't. I've learned since then that I'm not the best at her, but kind of that constant sort of like telling me that I'm subhuman scum because I didn't quite get a rocket shot.
There are so many reasons you're subhuman scum, Matt. And that's just not the one, not the one I'd pick. So like there is a lot of toxicity comes from the fact that people need to learn characters, and also like aiming is a thing. Like CS:GO is a game that doesn't have classes. Yeah, it has very few actually viable weapons and viable weapon ranges, and quite small number of maps, less than Overwatch has, that are actually played at the highest level. That is a game where nobody is perfect at it, and that is all just the whole game is basically aiming and map knowledge. Yeah. And Overwatch has that. Doesn't have quite it has different bits that change it. I mean, it doesn't have maybe quite the same skill ceiling, but it has all of that plus all this other garbage on top of that. So there is, that's part of the reason that I think it's there, and the reason that it's got so bad is I just haven't seen people be punished for it. Sure. People talk crap on the forums all the time. People, directly threaten people, like, racist slurs, homophobia, whatever you like. That is all in the in-game chat all the time, and I've never really seen somebody say I was banned for being a dick.
Yeah, no, certainly not I've seen, and it's kind of, I think part of the problem is maybe the punishment isn't visible enough. But I mean, I'd be interested to know, like, more about Blizzard's other games than I do. I'm more of an Overwatch kind of person. I know that Hearthstone doesn't have a chat.
Hearthstone has no direct chat.
What is toxicity like in that community?
So people get angry at the game. Yeah. And people will sometimes add you after a game to directly complain at you. Right. But I love that. Like, I just think that's very funny if someone's willing to go to that effort. The thing is that there's no, like, a lot of the toxicity comes from it being a team game as well. Yeah. And there's no one else to blame when you play Hearthstone. You can, or you play whatever 1v1 game you like a Street Fighter or something. There's no one else to blame. You can blame the game. Yeah. You can blame, the cards you drew or whatever, or you can blame your opponent for being lame or whatever. But yeah, like that helps drop the toxicity, and being a team game really has an effect on that. Something like World of Warcraft, there's less of a competitive element. A lot of it is PvE. In PvP, I'm sure it's super toxic, but like, you know, I just don't play PvP that much. And then something like Heroes of the Storm, I think because it has a smaller player base, and it does, I think it's growing, but it definitely has a smaller player base than Overwatch. It's just less of a problem. Although, and I think this is the last thing that is the reason that partly the toxicity's got so bad, and maybe people don't realise quite how bad it is in Overwatch, is people play in teams. And when I play Heroes of the Storm, I'm always playing with friends, at least one. And that really helps you shield yourself from it. A, because you can just bitch to them about, you know, whatever's going on, and then you're not, you know, you don't start any crap or whatever. And also because if you're playing in a team of 4, there's only 2 people on your Overwatch team that could be a random that is being a dickhead. And usually, even if your friends are a bit toxic or whatever, usually they're like toxic within the voice chat that you're playing with, rather than, you know, something wider. So I think that's why Overwatch has got so toxic, and I actually do think it is pretty toxic these days. The question is, what's the solution, and how does it work?
The toxins need a cure. So what is the cure to Overwatch's problem?
So I think what they're saying that they're going to do is a good idea, but there does need to be actual punishment. And it needs to be clear that it's happening. They've spoken about the idea of telling people that when you have reported somebody and that person gets banned, they will say, we've taken action against someone that you've reported. They have this in Dota. It is nice. It is really nice to log in and be like, good. But I think it needs to be more direct. I'm not saying they need to call people out. There are a lot of problems with if they make a post every month that's like, we banned these players, and here's what they said. Like, that is a problem, but I think they do need to maybe make a monthly post or like a 2 monthly post or something where they go, we banned 4,000 players for being racist, or something like that, to be like, right, you cannot in chat be a dick. You can't be throwing around slurs. You can't be throwing games. You can't be, you know, doing whatever you like, because here is what will happen. And I think they need to regularly reinforce that. And, you know, these guys have been dealing with communities far larger than any I've dealt with for far longer than I've even, you know, been professionally within the industry. So I'm sure there is a reason that we haven't seen this sort of thing before, because, you know, we don't see that in World of Warcraft, we don't see it in CSGO or anything. But I think that level of, yes, we are punishing people, here's how many and what we're punishing them for, is really important.
So, that's exactly in the way that kind of house crime and punishment statistics in police forces work, right? At the end of the year, you get a police report and it's like, we caught this many robbers and we put away this many murderers and stuff like that.
And crime dropped by or increased by this much, and then you can make decisions based on that. And, you know, exactly. And look further down the line, they can be like, okay, we're receiving less reports for this, or we're seeing less of this, or we're seeing more of this, but we're punishing it more, or we've decided to have harsher punishments. So yeah, people are pretty excited again about that, and I think it is good to show, but they do need to show that specifically, look, there is no quarter for assholes, basically. I also think they need to go after even what you might call a minor infraction. There are people worried about, oh, you know, I say one thing bad and I get banned, and honestly, I think you should be banned for 24 hours. If you're in chat and you decide that it's time to throw out a racial slur, I'm perfectly happy that if that happens to me, if my temper gets the better of me, and it does, I try to avoid that kind of language, and I usually do, I should be banned for 24 hours, or I should be silenced for 48 hours or something. Particularly in the early days, I think you can be really harsh during this period where you're like, right, we're cracking down on this, and then maybe you can slide it back a bit if you think that's important. There's also a worry about false positives where, you know, 5 people on a team who are playing together will report the other guy for playing bad, even though he's playing fine. And, you know, again, playing bad is not a reportable offence. Deliberately throwing is, but, you know, just
not being great at Tracer.
Or, you know, picking a character for the first time is not a reportable offence. If they ban 1,000 people for throwing games, and one of those was a false positive, so long as that person gets their account back and is apologised to and maybe gets some compensation, I don't have a problem with it. It sucks for that guy, you know, if maybe he can't play for like a week or like a day or something. That really, really sucks. But I think stopping the other 999 cases where people were throwing and teaching those people, or, you know, just getting them out of the game completely, I think is more important than totally removing false positives. I also think that 1 in 1,000 is a high rate. I don't think it'll be anywhere near that much. I think it might be something like, if they ban 10,000 people, a few of those will maybe be false positives and will have an argument. That all comes down to like support structures. Blizzard has a very large support structure. They've been running this huge kind of GM program for World of Warcraft for a long time. There are problems with that program. deals with a very complex game that has a lot of changing factors to it and some very, very hard to work out bugs. Sometimes the community notices those before Blizzard do, but if you report them and Blizzard have, sent out a call that's okay, if you get reports like this, it's not a bug, it's something else, there is an issue there. But again, I think working through those issues and creating a better system is fine and a good thing to do if it also means that you're banning 9,939, actual griefers.
Yeah, absolutely. So we know that something needs to be done about Overwatch, and hopefully all of those cogs are coming into place.
That seems to be the plan.
We had the forum post from yesterday, which has caused us to talk about this, and it looks like it's definitely on Blizzard's mind, which is great. Hopefully these are the first steps to making Overwatch a far more welcoming place, kind of closer to...
More in theme with the game itself.
Yeah, exactly. The world always needs more heroes, and let's have
less griefers.
Less griefers and racists in the same point. If you are interested in toxicity, there's also worth going to PCGamesN.com. We've actually got a piece that we wrote not so long back about the psychology of toxicity in games. We'll put a link in the description for you there. Until next time, though, when we'll be able to talk a bit more about Doomfist and the regular things.
There'll be less serious talk and more video game talk.
Next week in episode 42.
Oh yes.
But until then, if you did enjoy the video, please give us a like and why not subscribe so you can get Overwatch This every week as well as plenty of other PC games videos. But until next time, good luck and have fun.